Here it is, a Monday, August 9th, and as you are listening to this right now, I am on a jet airplane headed to New York City to do about 15 shows. Hope to see you. I will be at the Stand and the Comedy Cellar every night, and then Friday the 13th, ooh, spooky, I'm going to be in Connecticut with the great Bill Burr at Foxwoods Casino. It's all about stoner rock today, and we've got the king of stoner rock right now, Dave Wyndorf from Monster Magnet, right here on the show. What a great conversation with this man. I've been rocking me some Monster Magnet. When I first heard him walking around Haight Street in San Francisco, Spine of God was killing it everywhere. So many great records, man. So many great records. Dopes of Infinity, all of their music and their videos were top notch, and he's still going strong with a brand new covers record out right now, A Better Dystopia, covering some amazing songs, not your old standard covers like here we are doing all the shit you've heard over your lifetime. Nope. They've got some great deep covers. Of course, a little Hawkwind in there, J.D. Blackfoot, The Scientists, and even a fantastic Pretty Things song. So dig into that and dig into this episode. Thank you, Dave, for doing it. Great talk with this man. We go all over the place, and he's the real deal for sure. Before we get into it, a lot of people have been asking me, where can I get some great denim? Where can I get a great leather jacket? Where do you buy your stuff? I'm going to tell you right now, Oakland, California is where I get it. Standard and Strange. Go to standardandstrange.com/Delray, Delray, and sign up on their email list, because what they're going to do for all the Del Razors and the Fonzies out there is they are going to do a drawing once a month and give away a Y2 leather. Okay, you've probably seen me wear a couple of these jackets in my Instagram. I've got the car coat, and I have the new Type 1 tan veggie looking jacket. I've also bought some incredible denim there. And they're going to give a leather. Just sign up. This is insane. This is free shit. Just sign up. Put your email in there. They're not going to be, selling your info. Don't worry. Oh, the fucking government's got my shit. I signed up for a free leather. No. These guys are family to me. I absolutely love them. And you put your email in there, and we're going to do a live Instagram drawing once a month. It's going to be great. So while you're there, also pick up some denim or some boots. Oh my God. I got some fucking boots there last week. They are unreal. I picked up some John Lofgren combat boots. And damn, I wish I could wear them the whole time in New York, but it's going to be 1,000,000 degrees hot. And I'm going to be doing about 1,000 miles of walking. So I got to wear dumb sneakers. I'm usually a boots guy. But these John Lofgrens are unreal, man. I finally got a pair that fit me great because I've got the fucking duck wide crazy foot. It's skinny in the back and then goes out wide like a damn duck. Anyway, go to standardandstrange.com/Delray. They will ship anywhere in the world. Put your email in there. And we're going to do a little drawing on September 30th and see who wins a Y2 leather. Oh, man, I can't wait to see. Sign up. And like I said, good people. Also, a shout out to the new Patreoners. I love you guys. Patreon.com/Dean Delray. And I'm doing bonus episodes. I just put up number 110 bonus episodes. Zoom Fest every week, shooting the shit with the friends on Patreon. Here we go. Joey D, Pete Grant, Patrick Rankin, and Tony Edelbrock. Oh, Tony Edelbrock, my old buddy from Sacktown. Didn't see him at Punchline. Bummer. Anyway, Thank you for supporting me. It means the world, especially, I don't know what the fuck's going to go down. These shows in New York could be the last for a while with how crazy people are getting out there. Could be Mach 2 of a lockdown. I don't know. I'm just going to get up each day, stay positive, podcast for you guys, get the Patreon stuff going, do some Zoom, and just do what I can and not get all doomy and gloomy. As we say on Dark Fonzie, Sad Dean is not coming out. CactusRadioNetwork.com for all my podcasts. At Home with Byron Katie, Dark Fonzie, The Grail, and Let There Be Talk. Also, all the merch has been sent out. If you pre-ordered the Dark Fonzie shirt or the Gertie hoodie or t-shirt, it's out there. It's in your mailbox soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today. Take a picture, send it to me on Instagram, and I'll post you up. I love all you guys. Let's get the candles lit right now. A little monster magnet. Oh, man, this is good. Dave Wyndorf. All right, here we are. Look at this. A great guest today. Introduce yourself, my man.
My name is Dave Wyndorf, and I'm a member of the rock band Monster Magnet.
Hell yeah, Monster Magnet, man. I'll tell you what. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and in the 90s, Monster Magnet dominated San Francisco in the bars and the nightclubs, everything. It was like Monster Magnet, Masters of Reality, Tool, White Zombie.
Yeah, Soundgarden.
Oh,
yeah.
All of that, man. And
those good days.
Those were fantastic days. I've seen Monster Magnet a few times, and man, I mean, that Dopes of Infinity, that record was just, it was spun like daily when that thing came out, man.
Nice.
Yeah. How are you?
Very good. Sitting here waiting for, the world's starting to open again so I can go on tour. And, just like everybody else, just hanging around, jerking off, waiting for the world to open.
Yeah. You're out in Jersey?
I'm in Jersey.
You grew up in Jersey, right?
Born and bred in like central Jersey, old East Coast town, not a suburb exactly, but an old town, that kind of thing. And there are horse farms around and stuff like that. It's really nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice place.
And when you first are growing up out there, who is it for you that kicks it off for you? Is it like Kiss, or what gets you into the music out there? Jersey is a heavy Kiss state, boy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Kiss for sure. I mean, I saw Kiss the first time they played Manhattan. At the Academy of Music. They opened for Blue Oyster Cult and Iggy and the Stooges.
Wow.
And it totally blew me away. Changed my goddamn life.
Yeah.
They didn't even announce them. They were like a special guest, a new band before the first album came out. And they came on. It was just like, well, there was a world before Kiss, and now there's a world after Kiss.
That's incredible, man. What was that like? I mean, they're an opener. Did they have just the Candle Opry and stuff? No fire or anything, right?
Yeah, they had they had like 3 flash bombs, the candelabra, and Gene did the fire spitting and blood. But when he did the fire spitting, he set all his hair on fire and burned it off. The roadie had to come out and like put the towel on his head and stuff, and everybody was like, "Wow, look, it's a band that they're all Alice Coopers." They were the first band that everybody would put, monster makeup on and do it.
So wild to see it that early on. I don't even see till Dynasty, so that's pretty amazing.
I went on to see him 13 times in 3 years.
Whoa. Like you were just traveling around seeing them?
Well, you didn't have to. I mean, I lived in the New York area, so they played like all the time, Where I grew up, it was really good. You could just take a train into New York. It took an hour and you could see everything that was. So I saw Sabbath, Bowie, Alice Cooper, King Crimson, Roxy Music, Electric Light Orchestra, just a million bands.
Wow. It's funny because I played music for years, and New York, the local bands were all cover bands. San Francisco and LA, they were like originals, but I was out in New York, New Jersey and stuff, and you'd be on tour and the cover band would open for you. Yeah,
well, that's a bit of like gangsterism. Basically Jersey was like gangster run place. The New York area was run by gangsters, and cover bands was a big business. They would play the Jersey Shore all the time, like down by the shore, and it was it filled up clubs. They played all the hits, and then when the big bands came through, they do stuff like, all right, well, we'll get you on this bill. It was a racket, total racket.
When you start out, do you start out in a cover band like Twisted Sister, their covers, and then they start to write their own tunes? Is that how you start?
Some of them do. Yeah. I mean, I was in a garage band and we played high school dances. But we played, stuff like Sabbath and stuff in high school, but we went original pretty soon after that.
And what was your first guitar that you got? Or did you just jump into a good one, or is it just a shitty copy?
I was a singer for the most of the time. I couldn't be bothered with playing guitar for a while. Not until I wanted to write songs. That's when I learned how to play guitar. I didn't play guitar till I was like 28 years old.
Wow. That was like me. You're kind of the slave to whatever the guitar player is going to write. And after a while, you're like, I need to just learn how to write music.
Yeah, right. You got something to get the song in your head in some sort of shape to teach everybody like what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how long are you playing before you get Monster Magnet together?
I was in a band called Shrapnel in the late 70s, and we played CBGBs. So that was the whole beginning for me. I played CBGBs in like 77, 78, 79, 80.
Wow.
So I was hanging out at CB's doing all that stuff. Then Monster Magnet came after that band broke up, and I just kind of had this vision in my head about doing the kind of music I heard when I was a little kid, which was early 70s proto-metal like Sabbath and space rock like Hawkwind. Anything freaky, like the freaky post-psychedelic early proto-metal stuff. So by the time Monster Magnet got together, it was like 89. And then Monster Magnet, I just did a couple of tapes, started playing around in little punk rock clubs, and it seemed to take off pretty quick. So I was like, all right, let's go.
Wow, that's so great. I mean, when you were playing CBs, were you playing around that whole Cro-Mags scene and all that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And A7.
Oh, yeah.
Opened up, that's when hardcore started. I mean, I was in there before hardcore started. I was there while hardcore started. When I was playing there, it was just at the end of when the Ramones stopped playing there and the beginning of like Dead Boys and Suicide, stuff like that. It was cool. Patti Smith was still playing there. And then it started to change. Those bands got bigger, and then hardcore started. Bad Brains.
Yeah. What a scene, huh? I mean, the music too. I mean, Cro-Mags basically made a masterpiece, it's and defined a whole scene with one record. It's wild.
Yeah, it was really wild. And it was really different too, because it was a different scene. It wasn't my scene because there were no girls in it.
Yeah.
So I split. I was like, this is bullshit. I never got into it. Yeah, it was all guys. It was dudes playing music for dudes. I was like, I can't see myself doing this. I'm not in a band to do this. So I went the old rock way,
Yeah. Yeah. I love those 70s bands that don't have a lot of glory. It's funny, like just a couple of days ago, I was listening to the second Hawkwind record. Those first two Hawkwind records and Cactus and Captain Beyond and all those bands that don't have a lot of glory, that just are just heavy riff oriented. It's unbelievable when you hear a band too, like that one band I found out about them a couple of years ago, Growers of Mushrooms.
Yeah, I know that band.
Yeah, it's just you're listening to these bands and you're going like, this shit is amazing.
It's hard to believe that there was a time when that stuff was so prevalent. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
and it didn't last long. All those freaky bands. That was only about 1970 to about 1973 or 74 that kind of stuff existed, and then it kind of changed more into either FM rock, and then later to straight up metal, which is not that, what that is, or, hardcore, grindcore, and whatever, extreme metal, whatever you want to call it. A really special time. It just happened to be the time that I was a kid. That's why this stuff sticks with me so much.
Of course, they're all keys to your brain. You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what you want to do, everyone's a slave to the first time their eyes open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't think anything hits your brain quite as extraordinarily as when you're 12 or 13. That's when your brain just goes, whatever it is that you liked at that time sits with you emotionally for the rest of your life in a really cool way.
Oh, it's unreal. Once you get Monster Magnet up and going, I know your first record was on Caroline. Remember Caroline? They were like the indie guys that would just sign some metal and stuff. You know, they took chances.
They crossed over. A lot of chances got taken back then. That was like late 80s. Good time. STP was out.
Yeah.
Caroline, Sub Pop, Amphetamine, Reptile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Things started looking good. And then, of course, all the metal records like Metal Blade and all that stuff started.
Yeah. Shrapnel, Metal Blade.
Yeah.
Mega Force, all the
Mega Force, right.
Yeah. Metallica's out there, you know, selling records for those guys so they could sign other bands.
That was the first time I ever saw it really, really break up, the underground break up into niches, like severe niches. You know, it's never been the same since then. Yeah, before then, everyone kind of tried to climb the same mountain and bands would fight each other off the mountain. And then some smart people realized that maybe it's not necessary to climb all the way to the top of the mountain. Just go off in a niche and climb your own mountain.
That's true, right? It's like, this is my own pocket over here. Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, all of that. And then over here, you've kind of got like Soundgarden and, you know, I mean, people know Soundgarden for the big hits, but they were out there grinding, and Voivod and this kind of thing was going on, you know.
Screaming Trees.
Mark Lanigan, man, good friend of mine. There was that whole other thing. And really, I think that I learned all about that stuff was from just bouncing around these bars on Haight Street, because Haight Street just had this magic of kind of like, check out this song. And their jukeboxes were loaded with stuff like Monster Magnet and Soundgarden. And you'd be like, what is this? You go over the jukebox, you're like, wow. I
loved it. I mean, the first time I went to San Francisco wasn't with Monster Magnet. It was like privately. I just went there because I wanted to see Haight Street before any more time went by. You know, it was like I went there in 87. So yes, that was 10 years from, 70s, or 20 years from 67. So I wanted to see as much as I could see of the original Haight as I could. And I was not disappointed. I was like, they were right up to date and was still like pumping, you know. Alternate music, alternate stuff. And it's not the same way anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. I mean, they had the Night Break, the I-Beam, and, Sushi Sunday was happening. You're finding all these new bands were rolling through, and the people just dressed like freaks. And it was pretty fucking organic, man.
It really was. I mean, I was really stoked to see rock come back like that, because it hadn't been like that for a while. You know what I mean? It had been since punk rock turned into hardcore. Rock itself, just like long-haired rock, was kind of regulated to hair metal and Guns N' Roses and stuff, and it kind of fell out of fashion. And then when it came back in a, I guess you'd call it grunge, but it's kind of before grunge, it just started coming back in, like you say, a really organic way. And I was happy. It's kind of one of the reasons why I started Monster Magnet, because I was like, oh, good, there's somebody out there that still likes this kind of stuff. I'll do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and when you think about it, too, Tool and these bands in early Lollapalooza, I guess that was like 92-ish, and, Jane's and all that. I mean, that's really kind of this garden of, hey, these are all cool bands that aren't necessarily your radio bands. And that was kind of Haight Street, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It mean that, like, and then a couple of years later, the radio started opening up to that stuff. It actually looked like there was a chance for a lot of this stuff that was previously regulated to the underground to actually get out to a mass audience, which was unheard of. You know, it's like, wow, maybe the world will get a little bit cooler. And it did for a little while, and then it slipped back under again.
Yeah. Yeah. When you guys go out with Soundgarden, I know this is kind of monumental in the A&M deal happening. how does that happen? Does like Cornell turn the label onto the band, or does the label happen to see the band opening for Soundgarden?
It was complete band to band righteousness, which I rarely see happen. I didn't know those guys. I'm from New Jersey. They're from Seattle, you know? And this was right before, or I guess right as Bad Motorfinger came out.
Right.
They just happened to go on 120 Minutes or one of those rock shows. They asked about, the VJ asked them about bands. So they go, oh, we really like this band called Monster Man who put out a record called Spine of God. And they talked about it. And then they went on again a couple months later. And I think Kim Bale had a Monster Man shirt on.
Wow.
And it was like really above and beyond the Call of Duty. I mean, that kind of shout out, especially back then, was unheard of. So they really did so much, to help. And then as far as A&M, they had nothing to do with that. That was just, we had created a buzz overseas and we came back from that. And then we had a bunch of record companies looking at us at the same time. And one of them happened to be A&M. Those guys were the coolest. Those guys were awesome.
Oh, there's no cooler, especially in that era. Ultra Mega OK, Louder Than Love, and once Jesus Christ Pose comes out, then they've kind of got this power, and they could bring bands out on tour with them and create a total cool vibe.
Yeah, I mean it's and it's important to know that when these guys bring bands out. They don't really bring them out. They allow them to play. The band has to get the money. It's not like they're paying them good money.
No, not at all.
They're just like, so I had to go into Hawk to do that tour.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They don't bring you out. You show up when they allow you to play.
Yeah, the 250. Here you go. You got 250 here.
But it was worth it, of course, to play with them.
Of course. Now, from Spine of God all the way out, one thing that I've really loved about Monster Magnet was the album covers and the videos, the visuals and stuff. And of course, the album cover of Spine of God, definitely a Hawkwind kind of influenced era album cover, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. The whole thing, I was, like I was saying, I was completely obsessed with them, with the things that went on in my brain when I was a child and the music that hit me. And I thought those kind of images, and all I ever wanted to do with my music was to put in every ingredient that made me happy when I was a kid, from the images that made me happy to the kind of music that I heard, to just like what would a 14-year-old kid in 1971 do if he had the power of a band, and what would he do? He would pull on all his favorite stuff, from B movies, from porno, from outer space science fiction movies, to Black Sabbath, to Hawkwind, every cool thing that I could possibly imagine in one outfit. That was my dream band, So that's what I wanted to do.
Well, he had a fantastic look too. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was just, to me, it was definitely like, it was just pure rock and roll meets like a desert film, like Two Lane Blacktop.
Movie. Cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, wow, listen to this. It's like something you throw on and it's just like you take some mushrooms and you driving through the desert.
Yeah.
And you come across your band playing and you're like, whoa, what is this?
I couldn't think of, I never wanted to. I thought that was so rich, that whole thing, that beginning of heavy music and that whole tail off of psychedelia. I thought that had so much to do with rock culture in general that was still surging through. I didn't see anything super modern that came up in the next bunch of years that made me any happier. So I never switched. I never had it wasn't like, oh, I want to go into technical music or change style over that much, because I don't think it had been done any better since then. I still don't think so. But that's just me.
Were you into some of the other psychedelia other than Hawkwind, like Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd and stuff like that? Because I didn't get into the Dead till last, 15 years or so, but
I'm still trying with the Dead, man. It's kind of tough for me.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that was more like insane. Like, I was a big fan of authors like Hunter S. Thompson and Tom Wolfe, and that stuff was kind of bent. It was kind of like the other side of crazy psychedelia, a little bit meaner, a little bit more. I like that kind of stuff. So the Dead, I mean, I have a lot of respect for them,
Right.
but everything else you mentioned, yeah, I mean, I'm aware of everything. I love all music, and there's a couple Dead songs I like, but I like the stuff that was a little bit more psychotic and less narcotic. Now, I wasn't into the like, let's mellow out. It was like I didn't want to mellow out. I wanted to go, ah!
Yeah. R. Crumb.
Yeah, I was like an R. Crumb guy.
Yeah, like
R. Crumb, Hunter S. Thompson,
Freak Brothers explosion.
Yeah.
It's like if Bukowski smashed into R. Crumb.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought that was some of those quote unquote negative elements of the late 20th century, mid to late 20th century, is some of the most striking, arresting stuff. I mean, beat poetry, Hunter S. Thompson, Bukowski, but mixed in with this lovey-dove stuff was just such a dichotomy that was just irresistible. And there was sex in it, all of it, sex and mind blowing and all this exciting stuff.
Absolutely. That's basically San Francisco,
I know.
I mean, minus the hippie stuff. Once we get into the late 80s, early 90s around the hate, it does turn into this kind of, fakir, start piercing, tattooing, changing your look. It gets dark and psychedelic, and I think that's where bands like you guys came along and really lit it up. And even fun bands like Urge Overkill was still
Urge Overkill.
Yeah.
Really, really intelligent, funny music and rockin' music. It's like their lyrics are fantastic. I mean, those kind of bands, they don't exist anymore. There isn't an audience for that kind of intricate, funny / satirical. And I say funny, and I don't mean funny like they're a goof, but they were smart, really super smart lyrics. Rock was a lot smarter then, I gotta say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel so lucky to be able to have witnessed all of that stuff live.
You should be, because I think that's the last big real organic scene was that time. I mean, when the world went digital, organic scenes dried up like the Dust Bowl in 1938. I mean, so much stuff is done online now. So much of the sharing of information, even people recording and stuff, it's just not the same.
No, not in the world of stems and share the tracks. We don't even see each other. Just send it over, email it over, and I'll jam it on the couch while I'm watching the Kardashians. It's like that's not what it is, man.
It's too easy. You got to beware. Art should not be easy.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing.
No,
you know what I mean. There's got to be a struggle behind it for you to feel it. And you only really feel it when a lot of people are on the same wave and they kind of physically get together and do it. You could see by the meat of rock scenes through history, the really meaty parts of rock history is when people actually got together, stole from each other, fought with each other, and put it out. Now I see there's more music than ever, but it's not quite as interesting to follow.
When some interesting stuff comes along, boy, does it grab me, because you're like, I'm more interested on who the people are that put this music out and how did they do it in the world of insanity, of 360 deals and digital recording and not being together in a room and like, we don't have enough money except for to record one night only,
There's less stress in doing it now, and there's more. It's just a different thing. I hope it turns into something that'll like totally blow us all away.
Yeah.
In the future. And I think in the time that we're in now, it's like basically experimental time, the early days of digital. It's only been like 30 years since. That's nothing. We'll see the real surprises coming up.
Yeah, we will also. And I think also with the cell phone bags, which I really like, we can get back into the organicness of I'm at the show,
It's kind of bad that you have to make people put their phone in a bag. It's kind of a bummer. They should like just not take it out of their pocket. Would be a lot cooler. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? If we complained about that, we'd be like two guys saying, "Get off my lawn," Get off my lawn.
I never yell at people. I don't tell people to put their phones in bags. But
it's like
I will mock them from the stage.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk a little bit about once Power Trip comes out and that whole thing. You guys get some serious traction out there, Let's talk about some of the tours that you did. You were out with Aerosmith. That was pretty badass, right?
Yeah, it was a great tour.
Yeah, let's talk about touring with Aerosmith. I mean,
it was awesome. You could tour with these classic rock guys. They're like legends,
Yeah.
And they got down. It was like a real, playing with those guys like playing with a real band. I mean, they had like people of all ages at their shows. It was not like some old fuddy-duddy thing. And this is what I guess in the 90s we did it. And it was still about what you'd want a rock concert to be about. A lot of people all fired up for rock. And these guys were like legends. So it was really cool. And they were totally cool people.
Yeah, they are, man.
Well, they were so confident that they didn't feel threatened like a lot of bands do, and they restrict access and restrict this stuff. These guys are like, yeah, whatever you want, just go ahead crazy. And then we did Metallica all over Europe for like 2 months.
Which record was that on?
I think it was on Load or something like that.
Oh yeah, huge.
Load or Reload.
Right.
And that was a completely different experience because those guys coming from a different place, it was more dudes.
Right.
And so it's kind of another thing of dudes playing for dudes. So
that sounds like an album cover. An album title.
It is, but I've been threatening that for like dudes playing for other dudes.
Yeah.
But what do you do? They were huge and they were nice to us. They were really, really cool.
Yeah. Those guys are cool too. They are the case also of wearing a band shirt, like Hetfield wearing Ghost shirt. And all of a sudden Ghost is on the map. That's how powerful it is for him. He's the ultimate billboard. You're like, what's Ghost? And next thing you know, you're like, wow, it's a band. Pretty amazing. Let's talk a little bit now. You did a covers record, right? During the lockdown?
Yeah, I did a record called A Better Dystopia. I wanted to do something during the lockdown. We had got right at the beginning of the American lockdown. We had just finished the first part of a 2-part tour, and that was in Europe. And we just got out of Europe just as Milan fell and as Spain fell. We were still in Europe and going like, we got to get the hell out of here. It's coming. And we got home. And of course, the second part, which was due for America, got canceled. And I was like, there's no way on earth. First, I'm not going to do live streaming because it's stupid.
Yeah.
And, it's just weak. It's just, there's got to be something better to do, than to sit there and ask for handouts while playing in your living room. That's pretty not rock to me. Look, I'm playing in my living room. Please buy something. And it was pitiful. And so I said, well, we're going to have to make a record. But I didn't have anything written. So I was like, all right, if I can make sense of making a pandemic record out of old songs, I'll do it. I'll just go back to my childhood and pick some of the most weirdly psychedelic and post-psychedelic early proto-metal stuff that inspired me as a little kid and do it right, like make it a Monster Magnet record as well, not just a bunch of covers. I think I can come up with like 45 or 46 minutes of a little interdimensional freak hole you can go down to and listen to during the pandemic. So that's what we did. I just went into my drummer Bob Pantella's practice studio and set up all our gear, and he co-produced it with me. And we did this thing called A Better Dystopia. It was really fun. It's just like try to get some of that freaky excitement.
And how did you pick the tracks? Were they just ones that you loved growing up? And I mean, of course, because you could easily just go like, all right, let's just do the first Hawkwind record, But
yeah, I know. And believe me, I thought about that too, because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to, for the most part, pick tracks that not a lot of people had heard, because it'd just be ridiculous for me to go out there and do, hey, look, we did War Pigs, like, woo.
Yeah. Cold gin.
yeah. Cold gin. Look at our version of it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of bullshit. I was like, all right, I got about enough freaky stuff in my collection to do this. That was the first thing. And then second was like, can I sing it? Can I pull it off? Will it sound like Monster Man, or will it sound like the band overreaching itself? Because a lot of bands do that on cover records too. It's just like, why? Well, why are they doing this stuff? So I got enough there's more than enough. I could do 5 more of these records like that and just put together something that sounded like it was coming off the same record. Same band, same record. So that's how I chose the songs.
Let's go through who you covered and the songs you did. Well,
first up, the intro is by a track by a guy named Dave Diamond. And it's an intro to his radio show. Dave Diamond was a DJ in L.A. in the late 60s.
Whoa, never heard of him.
Yeah, nobody ever heard of him. It's like back there in a million years ago, he had some 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night show, I guess. And he was right there at the beginning of Psychedelia, and he just poured it on. He's just insane. The way that kind of freaked out psychedelic funny, unintentionally funny thing, because the guy is obviously an older guy trying to sell psychedelics to children. It's all wrong. It's so beautifully wrong. He's like, fly with me now deep into the depths of the diamond mine. Flying, crying is God alive. It's screaming like a cop on acid.
Wow.
It's like your history professor. If he took too much acid and went off on a bender.
Just broke his handcuffs and jumped off the overpass.
Yeah. And awesome. That's the way they introduced the record. And then it goes into Hawkwind, Born to Go, which is kind of obvious track, but I had to do it because it's such a cool song.
Of course. And also you know what it's going to be. Okay. We're going to start with Hawkwind, and then we're going to go deep into shit you're not going to know probably.
True. And Born to Go is one of my favorite Hawkwind tracks of all time. I don't have any problem with doing as many Hawkwind songs in my life as I possibly can, because they rule. It's punk rock before punk rock.
Yeah.
Science fiction punk rock. How cool is that? And then a song called Epitaph for a Head by a band called J.D. Blackfoot, which is awesome. It's just this, again, early 70s paranoia, like a brown acid bad trip. This guy is, from what I can understand from the lyrics, he's singing about being paranoid about a flying saucer following him.
I love it.
And there's some, he's like, there's a flat metallic object with its crosshairs over me, Wow. And then for some reason, he just screams out, it's a space god. And then at one point joins a girl that says, with one eye closed, the other's 2 foot open.
Oh man.
I guess a reference to LSD, or, closing and making the third eye open or something. And it's played with all these weird stops and starts, and some of the best fuzz I've ever heard on a track in my life.
Oh, beautiful.
It's so great. And then go to Solid Gold Hell originally by the Scientists, which was a little bit later in history, but that is an awesome song. It sounds like if Elvis was Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a Stooges lounge act or something. Like really, really cool. And just the songs go on and on. So many good.
Are you a heavy psychedelic guy?
Oh, you mean, do I take psychedelics?
Yeah.
No, not anymore. I did when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Back there. No, I think now, if I took psychedelics now, I think I'd just like climb a radio tower and start shooting people.
Well, psychedelics are those things where you do them young because you're like, fucking, we're die tomorrow. Who cares? Yeah. Then you get older and you're like, that's kind of scary. How many hits are on that paper? I don't know the guy.
Yeah, it's like playing Russian roulette with your id.
Yeah.
And the 21st century is a weird time for that. There's too much input.
Yeah. Yep.
There's just so much. There's so much crazy input now that, you're just like daring the world to freak you out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some weird energy out there, and you take that shit, you're going to tap into it. I do a lot of microdosing with psilocybin, but
how's that doing?
It's great, man. It's perfect amount. You just do 0.3 of a gram, and you're tripping. You're just kind of always like, all right, you just feel good. It's wild. It's like when they first come on and your back teeth are kind of floating.
Yeah. Right.
That's it, man.
Little sparkly.
Yeah, that's what they call it, sparkling, which is funny.
A little sparkly.
And all of a sudden you're like, it's all good, man. The pandemic ain't that bad.
Yeah, hey, man.
Yeah.
Well, the world, it doesn't surprise me that it's coming back, in that thing, because the way that the world, we perceive the world now is so different. I don't think the world's any worse than it's ever been, except with maybe a climate change issue. But you know what I mean? I mean, if you take climate change away, which I'm sure will be dealt with at one point, we'll adapt to it.
Right.
But strictly speaking, in terms of events, this should be the greatest time in the world. I mean, there's less people dying. It's not like it's the 20th century where we had 2 world wars.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? It's like nothing. We have got nothing to complain about compared to it was 100 years ago, or even 80.
Also, during the pandemic, you had the internet. You could just sit home and watch movies and shit. You weren't hunting for food and
right. But the way we perceive it is different than ever before.
Right.
Because of the internet, so much information, so much disinformation. When people start quoting terms like post-truth, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's like heavy shit. Like, we're in the post-truth land now. What does that even mean?
Yeah, right. It's
but it's not because it's things are really worse. It's because basically people make it worse by all talking at the same time. That's the trouble with social media. Yeah. Everybody talks at the same time. Nothing ever gets done when everybody talks at the same time.
No one's listening.
It never did.
No one listens when everybody talks at the same time. Just their own thing.
But everybody thinks they are. Yeah. They think they're listening.
Yeah, they do. You ever have a conversation with someone and they're just listening so they know when to come in,
Dude, it's like nuts. I was like, I'll have no part in it. I don't do social media.
Yeah. No social media for you?
No. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Good.
It doesn't help anyone.
When you recorded this record, speaking of Fuzz, which is a heavy thing in all of the psychedelic music, what were some of the fuzz pedals that you found to be the best?
Oh my God. Well, there's so many, and they all have their absolute beauty in their distortion. Like, when you think about it, it's so great. It's like, here's a pedal that's designed to make what you have sound worse. It's great. Like, this is really going to fuck it up. And they fuck it up in different ways. A little less mid-range, a little less this. We use ancient fuzz pedals like the Fuzz Face.
Oh, yeah. Great.
There's one called the Fox, which is a beautiful pedal. It's kind of like a Fender blender.
Wow.
It's from I think 1970. It's actually a beautiful pedal. It's like red and purple, like purple fuzz, purple like fur on it. A Vox Fuzz Wah.
Oh yeah.
Which is really really like a Yardbirds kind of thing. So we use fuzz pedals like that. A couple more modern ones, but a lot of times the most of the thing is like you get the fuzz pedal and then you just back off the more or less you back off what's coming through the amp to let the fuzz pedal get its own quality, and then fuck it up on top of that, like fuck with a little mid-range here and there. It's a whole science of, which is so funny because it's a science of non-science distortion. It's not scientific,
Yeah. I mean, it's like all the stoner rock bands that came after all the originals. It was just like, oh yeah, you got your fuzz pedal, okay, and your curly cord. I get it. I get it.
But they're all not created equal. It's like some fuzz just sounds like air, and it doesn't translate well. Like, you can have a fuzz pedal that sounds really cool when you're 3 feet away from it, but as soon as you get like 6 feet into the audience, you can't hear it at all.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, all right, what do I have to do to de-fuck up this fucked up sound? Because once it's fucked up, it sounds so cool. But how are we going to make this fucked up sound be fucked up 12 feet into the audience? It's just so insane, but well worth the effort.
What are you rocking for amps? Just Marshall?
Yeah, Marshalls. They're like old Marshalls, like 50-watt Marshalls and Fenders for clarity. No real need to get, I think, most music with a couple, most musical instruments with a couple rock instruments with a couple exceptions, they kind of hit a sweet spot in the mid 60s to mid 70s. So, I mean, if you're looking for the kind of tones I'm looking for, I don't have to look much further. I mean, now in modern metal, which is a lot brighter, those guys, they don't even use amps anymore.
And compressed too. It's all like
super compressed.
Like
so
Helmet came out and they had that tight thing, and then everybody just took it further and further and further.
Yeah. And the compressors got better. I mean, the digital compressors are like way over the top, and that's what you hear on those big modern metal records like Mastodon and all that kind of stuff. That they really, really up the fidelity of all that kind of stuff. I don't think necessarily it sounds cooler, but it sounds bigger.
Yeah, I love Mastodon, man. When you like those are like soundscapes, man. They sound like it sounds like you're out on a ship. It's just like you know, right. I love it. Yeah.
A lot of work goes into those records.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Right. Now, what do you got going? It's opening up a little bit. You think you're going to get out on the road by the end of the year, or wait for 2022?
Trying to. Well, 2022 will probably be the bulk of the touring, but we had our first regular record on, I think, Caroline, and was a record called Spine of God. And that's going to be, I think, 30 years old this year. So we're going to do a bunch of shows doing that.
Oh, that's great.
And early stuff only. And I'd like to, if I can, get out the old Liquid Lights and try to do it really, really old school. So have some ancient psychedelic sarcophagus of music for a couple shows. And then looking at 2022 to just get out there and not stop. Right.
I love those old psychedelic. You know, I really love that Fillmore lighting gig back in the day with just the oils on the.
It's amazing.
The oils on the high school projector. There's nothing cooler than that, man.
It's so vibey. It's like it's dull compared to the modern LED brightness of stuff. And it takes a little while for the eye to get used to, I would imagine, especially if you're a kid used to going to thing. But the vibe of it when you're in the room, irreplaceable. I mean, it's really weird. Yeah. It's a cool vibe and stuff. I can't believe that people haven't glommed onto it more. I'm sure there's a bunch of kids that'll come up with it again and go, wait a second, let's do all this. Let's do this analog, because it's real liquid. It's liquid and food dye being broadcast through this ultra bright light. And so it's automatically got a non-harsh tone to it. The reds are deeper. The blacks are blacker.
It's just crazy. It comes on and immediately I'm thinking of Apocalypse Now. I'm thinking about,
exactly.
I'm thinking about, Jim Jones, Guyana Grape, just real dark, weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of black holes in that kind of light show.
Yeah.
You don't see everything. There'll be all this color and then this deep black, and you don't know what's going on. Like a couple of the band members actually are not seen on stage, and then this giant thing of color comes from the other. So it's really scary, and it's very three-dimensional in that respect.
Who did that Spine of God album cover? It's beautiful.
That was done by a really good friend of mine named Rob Leacock. He still lives in town. Excellent artist. Boy, he's come a long way since those days. He was like 18 when he did that cover.
Damn.
But yeah, I just wanted to get the creepiest, thing. I was like, here's the mission statement,
It's so good. Is that guy still doing art?
Oh yeah. His art's fantastic now.
Wow.
But he's graduated from that to more of a graphic style. He grew up as an artist, Back then he was doing a lot of metal covers. He did the covers for a band called Ripping Court from around here and did a lot of work. He's excellent.
You ever go into the city at all anymore?
Yeah, every once in a while. It's different. It's not as much fun as it used to be. Like the mom and pop stuff is starting to close up. So there's less independent stores and, there's a Gap everywhere, basically a lot. So it doesn't look much different from other cities.
Yeah.
But I went up there during the pandemic just to take a drive during the lockdown. And it was wild, man. I never got to New York City so fast in my life.
Wow.
I got up. It usually takes an hour to get up there. I got up there in like 48 minutes, and I felt like Charlton Heston in the Omega Man.
Yeah,
like a completely dead New York at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Unheard of.
Yeah,
unheard of.
Yeah, that was like LA. Like Highway 5. You could just do 100 miles an hour down it. It was like no one around. So bizarre.
The cops didn't seem to give a shit. You know, they were just like, I like it.
Yeah. Well, it was great talking to you, man. And congrats on still playing music after all these years. I love people like you, just a soldier out there. And
music always gives back. I mean, it's it's a lifestyle. It's not just it's not, I couldn't not do it.
Right. Right.
That's all I ever wanted to do, was have a life in music, and I got away with it. It's really cool.
Are you a comedy guy? Stand-up comedy?
Not for a long time. I mean, I'm like a Don Rickles guy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Not for a long time, for sure.
Not for a long time. I'm a Don Rickles guy. No, there were comedians I liked here and there. A good joke is always a good joke, but I wasn't like the guy that went to the Comedy Store and all that stuff.
Right.
For some reason, I like my comedy in bits and shorts, and there's a lot of, there are too many geniuses.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that like their comedy just on the tour bus, watching it from city to city.
No, I mean, I love comedy. I love to laugh at stuff, but the whole stand-up thing was brutal. It almost hurts me to watch, because all I can do is see that the fear in the people's eyes as they do it. I don't know. I can't understand how a stand-up comedian does what he does. I mean, they're the most naked. That's what you do. That's the most nakedly exposing thing you could possibly be doing your whole life.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at them and I just cringe. I was like, you better be fucking funny, or I'm going to die. It's not because I'm demanding them to be funny, because I feel the pain.
Oh, yeah. As a performer, I get it. Like, if the power went out for a rock band and you're just standing there like, Well,
that's the way it is for a comedian every night. I mean, it's like you have to generate every inch of that power. I have nothing but the highest respect for that kind of thing. And I would imagine now it's got to be harder than ever, because of the limitations on what you can or can't say before someone comes in there and cancels you or whatever. I mean, it's tough. It's like, to me, comedy is always best when it's pushed over the edge.
Yeah.
And when it's restrained by morality, it's kind of bullshit. It has nothing to do with politics or my own morality. It's just like, funny is funny. And it's like, I know how to understand why something's funny and why off comedy is so funny. There's room enough for all of it, and of course you don't need to be off all the time to be funny. That's not for sure. But without that element in it, I don't see comedy could be that vital. And the same thing with music too, obviously. And it's like, we live in a weird time. It's like a lot of people trying to do good things for people, but they're over moralizing, and they're trying to clean up the world by cleaning up people's speech, which is a big fucking mistake.
Yep.
You can't do it. You can't do it that way.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you out there rocking it, man. And I'll come down and hang out and hear some Monster Magnet. I can't wait. And everybody go out and check out the New Covers record and go back and listen to I went back and listened to it all last night again. It'd been probably 5 years or so. And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I rocked it all last night, and I was like, this shit is just classic. The videos are amazing. Everything about it, man. I love it. Pure rock and roll.
Really fun to make, man. Those videos back when they actually paid you, they actually had a budget for videos. It was really cool.
Oh man. You spent the budgets. I love it, 'cause they look great.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for doing the show. Hope to see you soon out on the road. Candles lit, my friend.
Right on.
I'll see you, buddy.
Good luck, man.